You know what's actually embarrassing? Opening your hard drive and it looking like this. Imagine you're mid-project, the deadline's coming up and the client's waiting, and you're sat there scrolling through a single folder named project, trying to find an asset you swore was called asset_final_ this one for sure. I'm sorry, but that's just not an optimized workflow. That's why in this video, I'm going to be going over my exact file organization system. This is the system that I've used with every single client on every single project. And once you build it for the first time, it practically runs itself. Alright, here's how my drive is structured from the top level. Everything starts inside a clients folder. Inside that, each client gets their own folder. So for me, one of those videos is a personal folder for these videos on Dylan's projects. Inside personal, I separate by project type, videos, shorts, and any other content types depending on what the client needs. Inside each project type, every individual project gets its own folder named after the title of the topic of that video. Name it something simple, readable, and no weird abbreviations. Now here's the part that saves me the most amount of time. Inside every single project folder, there are exactly 4 subfolders: assets, exports, footage, and projects. Now let me walk you through what exactly lives in each one. Assets is where everything that isn't raw footage lives. Inside assets, I have 3 subfolders: graphics, sound effects, and tracks. Inside graphics specifically, I break it down even further. Inside graphics, I let any repeatable graphics, things like a vignette overlay or a like and subscribe animation that I reuse across videos, live in there. Then I have folders for custom graphics for anything built specifically for that project. Drive for client provided asset libraries. Sometimes a client will give you access to a full folder of previous branded assets, and this is where that lives. And motion array for any stock assets I've pulled from there, whether it's footage, Premiere presets, or After Effects templates. Exports is exactly what it sounds like. Every render that comes out of Premiere goes here. Footage is your raw camera files. You dump your SD card or the batch of footage from your client and it goes here. And projects, this is where your actual project files live. I have an AE subfolder for After Effects, and if there's any Photoshop files that I make during the project, I save them here too. Everything is in one spot. Here's the most important step that actually makes this system fast. Inside each project type folder, like videos, I keep a template folder. This is a pre-built copy of the exact file structure that I just walked you through, with the graphics subfolders already in its place, and any reoccurring graphics are already dropped in. When I start a new project, I don't build anything from scratch. I just copy the template, paste it, rename it to the video title, and I'm ready to go. Everything's already where it needs to be. After I download new assets, stock footage, sound effects, whatever, I can drag and drop it from my downloads folder straight into the designated folder already there, without needing to create a new folder or touch anything else. Hey, just before we get into Premiere, if you're finding this useful, be sure to hit subscribe. Alright, back at it. Now let's talk about Premiere. When I create a new Premiere project, the first thing that I do is I create 6 bins: raw footage, graphics, sound effects, tracks, sequences, and nests. You'll notice that these mirror your computer file structure, and that's intentional, because your brain should never have to switch gears between the separate organizational systems from Premiere or your computer's files. It just makes your life easier that way. And I color code every single one of them. Premiere lets you assign a color to the bins. So, at a glance, without reading a single label, I know exactly what I'm looking for in my timeline or on my project panel. Now, I'm actually planning a dedicated video on timeline organization inside of Premiere Pro, because that on its own is a whole other huge conversation. So let me know in the comments if you want to see that. And that's my system. Now, if you have any questions, be sure to drop them into the comments below. Overall, organization is very crucial within your process, but the most important thing is that the rest are just tools.